Welcome back, guys. Let's recap WWDC 2021. I'm Sujal, your host, and let's begin. iOS 15, first up, FaceTime also now supports spatial audio. There's something called voice isolation, pretty much just removes background noise from your group calls. There's something called grid view, pretty much places everyone in a grid. Portrait mode is now supported. There's something called Facetime Links, so pretty much users can actually generate a FaceTime link and share it to people who may or may not have an iOS device, and people can just join the group call as well. There's something called SharePlay, so pretty much is Apple's equivalency to Netflix Party. You're able to listen or watch movies and TV shows with your friends and families together. Fun fact, you actually don't need to be on a voice call, so you're pretty much good there. Messages also gets improvements. You can actually see photos in a collage or in a stack, however you want to prefer it. There's something called shared with you. Pretty much if someone shares you a link, you can actually view that link later on in that specific category. So if someone sends you an article or a recipe, you can see that when you open Safari next time, and it's going to be a pop-up or like some type of menu where you'll see that, hey, shared with you, that someone shared a link, an article, and you should read it later on. There's also something that has a pin tab now, so if you want to pin something and reference it later, you can. Notifications also gets improvements. For example, you'll actually now see profile pictures and messages when you do get the messages notifications. There's also something called notification summary. Pretty much notifications that is not as useful will be grouped together and be delivered to you at a specific time. This can also be adapted based on your schedule, so you can set what time the non-important notifications should be displayed. There's also improvements in Do Not Disturb. Pretty much people will actually see that you're in Do Not Disturb. This feature is called Focus, and pretty much what it allows you to do is that you can devote time and more concentration on a specific task. So there's going to be like individual reports. So for example, you can have personal focus times, or pretty much no coworkers or set apps can send you notifications. If you're in a work environment and you just want to focus on your work, the notifications in your work apps, so for example Teams, Slack, or whatever, will only be the ones sending you notifications. Everything else will be muted, and that's pretty much it regarding Do Not Disturb. Apple also improved on their machine learning in iOS. For example, there's a new feature called Live Text. It allows you to take photos and simply highlight the given text given from the image that you have taken, or you can actually use your photo library, and if there's any text or any addresses or any phone numbers, you're automatically able to highlight, copy, paste, or actually go to that address or call that phone number right from the image itself. Photos apps can now detect objects such as dogs or any other type of animals and learn more regarding the object itself. So for example, it's called Visual Lookup. You can learn more about the objects it can detect. So if there's a specific breed that it detects, you can learn about that specific breed dog. Spotlight also gets more improvements. You can now search for photos or even people. For people, you can see everything from their calendar, their location, the links that they have shared, their regular contact card, and so much more. The photos apps also get something called Memories. It's pretty much similar to Snapchat Memories, where it pretty much highlights and groups events together in similarity. And once it does that, you can actually have music play in a slideshow fashion. So once you actually view that slideshow, there's music playing. If you don't like the generated music that Apple automatically generates, you can actually use the Apple Music library and create a nice montage of your favorite photos for that specific event. The Wallet app also got updates to it. For example, now you can unlock your house with a digital card key as well. Disney World also added support to their park passes, creating another digital card key if you need it, or even unlock your hotel room right from your phone with another digital card key. Pretty much that's a trend. Identification cards are now being supported in the new Apple Wallet, so pretty much you're able to now upload your driver's license, and if any app that needs your driver's license for verification, you'll automatically see what information needs to be shared across the app. The only downside is that this is going to be state dependent, so it may take longer than it needs to. If you do lose your phone, you pretty much lost everything if you don't carry your driver's license or your keys anymore. So you're pretty much AWOL. Nah, I'm just joking. The weather app also gets improvements. It's now redesigned, so now you'll see more information in that main screen. There's also new graphics, and as well as a new high-res weather map if you're into that. Maps also gets a new feature. There's something called Apple Earth now, so pretty much you can see a whole nice high-res view of the global Earth. There's also something called highlighting structures. Pretty much any famous landmarks or buildings, you're able to see a nice 3D view in the Maps apps as well. And that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to display the final cue card that they have presented in every transition to a new category. If you need to pause, you just pause right here. If not, let's move on to the next category. AirPods also got an update. There's something called Conversation Boost. So when you're actually having a conversation with someone, in transparency mode, you'll actually now hear the conversation better and more clear. iPad also got nice updates. Widgets can now be placed anywhere in the home screen. There's also support for larger widgets than traditionally found in iOS devices. Support for app library and actually removing screens from the homepage itself. There's also something called quick notes for jotting down notes or even writing something down or copying pasting small articles. That way you can reference them later. Think of it almost as like a digital sticky key. There's also something called for better multitasking called shelves. Pretty much you're able to have more split view options or like have other windows on top of your split view, and then all you have to do is just swipe it away or swipe it to the bottom and you'll have a nice little shelf that can be used for different scenarios later on. So it's dependent on what apps you have. So if you have some quick links in Safari and if you have it in a shelf, then you can open that up later in another split view or so on and so forth. You can now mention people in notes. Pretty much all you have to do is add someone in their name and they're going to get a notification when you're actually collaborating in a specific note file. You can add hashtags in your notes app. That way you can categorize each hashtag as a specific category and find the specific notes that you need for that specific hashtag. Apple also have now supported Translate app onto the iPad OS itself, so now you can actually use the Translate app to have a nice live conversation and translate in real time, or actually use the app system-wide and have it translate depending on if you're trying to translate an image, text, or even a message. You can also build small scale apps in Swift Playgrounds. Now it's not like Xcode where you can actually build large scale apps, but like having to teach someone Xcode or actually have a kid to learn Xcode, you can actually use Swift Playgrounds to actually have that introductory gap on iPadOS. Bummer that there isn't a real Xcode support, but it's a start. And that's pretty much it for iPadOS 15. I'll actually put the last final slide that Apple had in their event as a cue card. Pause if you need to. Now let's move on to the next category. Apple took a big stance on privacy. For example, in Mail and Safari, IP addresses will now be hidden. That way there's no tracking via tracking pixels. On top of that, there's also a new app privacy report where it'll actually list in settings all the trackers that a website or an app's actually using to track you. Apple also launched a new Icloud Plus bundle service where it includes Apple's new VPN, access to private emails, and unlimited HomeKit camera storage. The way the VPN works is called Private Relay, where it routes the traffic through two relays in order to mask who's browsing and where the data is coming from. The burner email is called Hide My Email, that lets you create a single sign-in use email that will forward any email to your action account. This is great for preventing junk spam building up on your main email. And then finally, Apple will include any unlimited storage for HomeKit enabled security cameras. Apple launched a new walking steadiness feature where it tracks your walking movements and determines whether or not you're going to fall, or based upon your activity, the machine learning algorithm will think you're going to be at risk of falling one day. So it's indicated by a regular OK if you're doing normal pace, and then it's going to notify you if you're about to fall or there's a slight change in habit and you need to start working on your exercises to help make sure you don't fall one day. There's now the ability to share your health data with your friends and family or even your doctor. So now if there's any potential hazards that you might have in your health, you can now share the data that you have on your Apple devices and share it with your doctor. Or if you have any family members that you want to keep track of their health, and if you see any anomalies, you can actually message them saying that, hey, you should really check this out. There's also a new watchOS update. Pretty much there's an update to the Breathe app where now there's a new feature called Rejoice, and it's more of a self-reflecting aspect, a part of your mental health stake. So pretty much it's just going to ask you a question to something to think about and actually think about something positivity. This is pretty much to help in lieu to keep your mind healthy and to make sure you're doing okay. Now in HomeKit, there's also new support for HomePod minis to be the default speakers for your new Apple TV 4K. Pretty much it'll give you the old Dolby Atmos surround sound experience. This was typically found in the OG original HomePods, but now HomePod mini can now be supported. There's also hands-free support for Siri, so now all you have to do is just ask Siri, hey, launch me a new movie or launch me a new episode for X, Y, and Z, and it'll do it right for you hands-free. Finally, macOS got its new update. Now it's called Montanari, macOS Montanari, and now there's new great features that Montanari includes. For example, now there's universal control where you can actually use the same mouse and keyboard with all of your Mac devices. So all you have to do is just, slide over to another device and use the same magic keyboard, magic mouse, depending on what device you have. If you want to drag and drop something from other devices, you can. There's also a new AirPlay support regarding Mac, so now you can AirPlay to a given Mac, whether it's an iMac or MacBook Pro. And then finally, there is a new redesign for Safari. Now tabs will actually look less messy and less cluttery. Every time you have a tab, you can now create a group of tabs and share that with friends and family. And that pretty much wraps up WWDC 2021 edition. I pretty much got this video under 10 minutes, technically. So I hope you actually enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if this is the best quality. I'm actually trying to learn how to video edit and improve my skills. If you did like this video, leave a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, leave a thumbs down. If you have any tips and suggestions on how to get better, leave a comment down below. Subbed if you haven't. Cheers. Stay safe.